Have you ever had that one person in your life? Someone who knew you better than anyone else? Who could make you laugh until your stomach hurt? Who felt like home? My best friend was that person. For 8 years, Ethan had been my constant, my anchor, my safe place. But on a camping trip in the mountains of Colorado, everything changed. What he told me under the stars that night would transform our friendship forever. This is our true story. The text message came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was drowning in spreadsheets at my desk. Ethan, dude, you, me, the mountains. This weekend, no excuses. I smiled at my phone, already feeling the stress of the work week melting away. Ethan had a way of doing that, cutting through all the noise and reminding me what actually mattered. Me, I can't resist your spontaneous plans. I'm in, Ethan. Perfect. I'll pick you up Friday at 5, and Jake, pack warm? Nights get cold up there. I set my phone down and stared out the window of my Denver office. 26 years old, and I was already feeling like life was passing me by. Same job, same routine, same careful distance I kept from anything that might force me to confront who I really was. Except with Ethan. He was the one. A place I could breathe. We'd met in college, randomly assigned roommates freshman year who somehow became inseparable. He was studying environmental science while I fumbled through business classes I didn't care about. He was confident, outdoorsy, always ready for adventure. I was cautious, analytical, more comfortable with books than people, but it worked. We just worked. Over the years, our friendship had deepened into something I couldn't quite name. Ethan knew about my struggles with my conservative family, about coming out to myself during senior year, about the quiet shame I still carried. He'd been there through every awkward date, every heartbreak, every moment I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And I'd been there for him too through his parents' divorce. His career changes, the relationships had never quite stuck. We were each other's person. That's what best friends were supposed to be, right? So why did my heart race every time his name appeared on my phone? Why did I memorize the sound of his laugh, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the exact shade of brown his hair turned in the summer sun? I shook my head, pushing those thoughts away like I always did. Ethan was straight. He'd had girlfriends. And even if he wasn't, I couldn't risk losing him. Our friendship was the most important thing in my life. I wouldn't jeopardize it for feelings that probably weren't even real. Just residual loneliness, I told myself. Just the desperate heart of a gay man who hadn't figured out how to date properly yet. Friday arrived, wrapped in golden autumn light. I was waiting outside my apartment complex when Ethan's Jeep pulled up, music blasting through the open windows. "There's my favorite desk slave," he called out, grinning that crooked grin that always made my stomach flip. "Some of us have real jobs," I shot back. Tossing my backpack in the rear and climbing into the passenger seat, he looked good. He always looked good, but today especially. His dark hair was slightly longer than usual, curling at the edges. He wore a faded green flannel that brought out the hazel in his eyes. And there was an energy about him, something almost nervous beneath his usual confidence. "You okay?" I asked as we pulled onto the highway. "Yeah, perfect. Just excited. Been planning this for a while." He glanced at me briefly before returning his eyes to the road. "We need this, Jake. Both of us. Time to unplug. Get out of our heads." "Is this the part where you've joined a cult and you're taking me to be initiated?" He laughed, that full, genuine laugh I loved. "Would I do that to you?" "Absolutely. You convinced me to go bungee jumping, remember? And that time you thought midnight kayaking was a chill activity? Both were amazing experiences that you're now grateful for." "I'm grateful I survived them." I fell into easy banter, the way we always did. The city fell away behind us as we climbed into the mountains. The landscape shifting from urban sprawl to pine forests and rocky peaks. Ethan had chosen a remote spot, a camping area he'd apparently discovered on a solo hiking trip last month. "Why didn't you tell me you went camping?" I asked, suddenly wondering what else I didn't know. His hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. "Needed to clear my head. Figure some stuff out." "Everything okay?" "Yeah, it will be." He reached over and squeezed my shoulder, that casual touch that always felt like it meant more than it should. "It's good now." You're here. We arrived at the trailhead as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. The hike to the camping spot was only 2 miles, but it felt like entering another world. Towering pines surrounded us, their scent mixing with the crisp mountain air. A stream gurgled somewhere nearby, and the only sounds were our footsteps on the trail and the occasional bird call. "This is incredible," I said, stopping to take it in. "How did you find this place?" "Sometimes you just know when something's right," Ethan said softly, watching me instead of the scenery. When I turned to look at him, he'd already started walking again. We set up camp in a clearing surrounded by aspens, their leaves bright yellow against the darkening sky. Ethan moved with practiced efficiency, setting up the tent while I gathered firewood. We'd done this enough times that we had a rhythm, a wordless coordination that felt natural. As I arranged the wood for the fire, I found myself watching him. The way he moved, the concentration on his face, the competence in every gesture. He'd always been like this, capable, grounded, present in a way I never quite managed to be. "You're staring," he said, without looking up. I felt heat rush to my face. "Just making sure you're not about to pitch the tent over a cliff or something. That was one time, and I was drunk." "You said you were sober?" I lied. He looked up, grinning. Then his expression shifted to something softer. "Hey, Jake." "Yeah." He opened his mouth, then seemed to think better of it. "Nothing. Let's get this fire started. I'm starving." Dinner was simple hot dogs and beans cooked over the fire, followed by s'mores that were more charred than golden. But eating under the emerging stars, with the warmth of the fire and Ethan's easy presence beside me, it felt perfect. "Remember the first time we went camping?" Ethan asked, poking at the fire with a stick. "Junior year. You dragged me out during finals week because I was having a breakdown about organic chemistry. You needed it. You were wound so tight I thought you'd snap." I did snap. "I cried for like an hour about how I'd never be a real adult. I told you that real adults are just faking it anyway." He smiled at the memory. "You fell asleep by the fire, and I had to carry you to the tent." I did remember that, waking up in my sleeping bag, confused about how I got there, and finding Ethan already awake. Watching the sunrise with a cup of coffee, even then I'd felt it. That pull, that sense of something unspoken between us. "You take care of me," I said quietly. "Let me?" "Not everyone does." The fire crackled between us, sending sparks into the night sky. The temperature had dropped significantly, and I pulled my jacket tighter around me. "Cold?" Ethan asked, a little. He stood and grabbed a blanket from the tent, then settled back down closer to me, wrapping it around both our shoulders. The sudden proximity made my breath catch. I could feel the warmth of his body, smell the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with campfire smoke. "Better?" His voice was low, almost tentative. "Yeah, thanks." We sat like that for a while, silent, watching the fire burn down to embers. The sky above us was incredibly vast canvas of stars unmarred by city lights. The Milky Way stretched across the darkness like a river of light. "It makes you feel small, doesn't it?" I said, in a good way. "Like your problems don't matter as much." "Do you feel small right now, Jake?" There was something in his tone, something that made me turn to look at him. His face was half in shadow, half lit by the dying firelight, and he was looking at me with an intensity I'd never seen before. "What's going on, Ethan?" He took a deep breath, and I could feel the tension in his body beside me. "I need to tell you something. That's why I brought you here. I've been trying to find the right time, the right words, and I keep chickening out, but I can't anymore. I can't." My heart was pounding now, fear and hope warring inside me. "Okay, you can tell me anything. You know that." "Do I?" He laughed, but it was shaky. "God, this is harder than I thought it would be. Ethan, you're scaring me." He turned to face me fully, taking my hands in his. His palms were warm, slightly rough from outdoor work, and the touch sent electricity through my entire body. "I'm in love with you, Jake. For words that would change everything between us. For words I'd dreamed of hearing but never believed were possible. How did my straight best friend just confess his love for me? What happened next would test everything we thought we knew about ourselves and each other. Stay tuned for part 2 to find out what I said, and how one camping trip became the beginning of our forever. My best friend Ethan brought me to a remote mountain camping spot and confessed something I never expected. I'm in love with you. Jake, after 8 years of friendship, everything was about to change. Time stopped. The world reduced to 3 things: Ethan's hands holding mine, his eyes searching my face, and the 4 words still echoing in the space between us. I'm in love with you. Jake. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My mind was racing and completely blank at the same time. Say something, Ethan whispered. Please. Even if it's to tell me I just ruined everything. What? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Jake. He let out a shaky laugh, not releasing my hands. I'm in love with you. I have been for... God, I don't even know how long anymore. Maybe always. Maybe from that first week in the dorm when you quoted The Princess Bride and didn't realize I was testing you. Maybe that night sophomore year when you came out to me and trusted me with something so huge. Or maybe it was gradual, so slow, I didn't notice until I was completely drowning in it. My voice came out hoarse. But you've had girlfriends, I know. He looked away, jaw tight. I know. I've been lying to myself for years. Telling myself I was straight, that what I felt for you was just friendship. That the reason none of my relationships worked was bad timing, or incompatibility, or whatever excuse I could find. He turned back to me, and I saw tears glistening in his eyes. But I can't anymore, Jake. I can't keep pretending that you're not the first person I think about every morning. That seeing your smile doesn't make my entire day better. That I don't lie awake at night imagining what it would be like to kiss you. God. Oh God, this was real. This was actually happening when I managed to ask, when did you know? He smiled sadly. 3 months ago. You remember that guy you went on a date with? Marcus? I nodded. Marcus had been nice enough a teacher I'd met through a dating app. We'd gone out twice before, mutually deciding we didn't have chemistry. Came over after the second date and told me it didn't work out. You were disappointed but not heartbroken, and you made some joke about being destined for cats and loneliness. And I was happy, Jake. I was relieved it didn't work out, and that's when it hit me. I didn't want you to find someone because I wanted to be that someone. His thumb was tracing circles on the back of my hand, and I didn't think he even realized he was doing it. I spent that whole night spiraling, because I'd never thought of myself as anything but straight, never even questioned it. But suddenly, I was questioning everything every girlfriend I'd had, every time I'd chosen to spend time with you over anyone else, every moment that felt charged with something I'd refused to name. Why didn't you tell me? My voice cracked. 3 months, Ethan, because I was terrified. He squeezed my hands tighter. You're my best friend. You're the most important person in my life. What if I was wrong? What if this was just confusion or some quarter-life crisis? What if I told you and you felt the same way, but I couldn't give you what you deserved because I was still figuring myself out? What if you didn't feel the same way and I lost you completely? Ethan and I know it's selfish, he continued, words tumbling out like he'd been holding them back too long. I know I've had privilege you didn't have. I've never had to hide who I was or worry about my family rejecting me. I've watched you struggle with all of that, and here I am late to my own realization. It's asking you to take a chance on someone who's still learning what it means to be queer. It's not fair to you. Stop. I pulled one hand free and placed it on his cheek, making him meet my eyes. Stop apologizing for your journey. Stop thinking you don't deserve this because you figured it out later. That's not how this works. He leaned into my touch, closing his eyes briefly. I need you to know what you'd be getting into. I don't have it all figured out. I'm probably going to mess up. I don't know how to do this, Ethan. I waited until he opened his eyes. Do you think I have it figured out? I've been out for years, and I still barely know what I'm doing. We can figure it out together. Hope flickered across his face. Together. And here it was, the moment of truth. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs, 8 years of hidden feelings rising to the surface. I'm in love with you too, I said, and watched his entire face transform. I've been in love with you for so long, I can't remember not feeling this way. Every girlfriend you had felt like a knife in my chest. Every time you touched me casually, I had to remind myself not to read into it. I've dreamed about you, Ethan. Literally dreamed about you telling me exactly what you just said. Jake, I never thought it was possible. You were straight, and you were my best friend, and I couldn't lose you. So I buried it. Told myself I'd get over it. Dated other people, hoping I'd find someone who made me feel even a fraction of what I feel when I'm with you. I laughed, tears streaming down my face now. Spoiler alert, I never did. So we've both been idiots, he said, laughing and crying at the same time. Complete idiots. He moved closer, his free hand coming up to cup my face. Can I kiss you? I've wanted to for so long. Instead of answering, I closed the distance between us. The first touch of his lips against mine was soft, hesitant, like we were both afraid this might shatter if we moved too fast. But then he made this small sound in the back of his throat, and something shifted. His hand slid into my hair, pulling me closer, and I grabbed his jacket, needing him nearer, needing this to be real. The kiss deepened. 8 years of longing poured into the connection of our mouths. He tasted like chocolate and marshmallow, like campfire and coming home. When his tongue brushed against mine, I felt it in every nerve ending. We broke apart, gasping. Foreheads pressed together. Holy shit, Ethan breathed. Yeah, I want to do that about 1,000,000 more times. Just 1,000,000. He laughed and kissed me again, softer this time, reverent. How is this real? How are you real? We stayed by the dying fire for hours, wrapped in blankets in each other, talking about everything. About the moments we'd almost said something, the near misses and almosts. About what this meant going forward, how we'd navigate telling friends and family, what we wanted this relationship to look like. I want to do this right, Ethan said. I want to take you on actual dates. Hold your hand in public. Tell everyone you're mine. I repeated, testing the word. I like the sound of that, yeah? Yeah, I kissed his jaw, feeling him shiver. But you're mine too. That's how this works, Deal. Pulled me closer until I was practically in his lap. Cold. Not anymore. We were quiet for a moment, and then Ethan said softly, I was so scared coming here. Scared you'd reject me or think I was confused or just not feel the same way. I was scared you were about to tell me you were moving across the country or getting married or something. Never, I mean. Not never to moving if we both wanted to someday. But definitely never to anyone but you. He paused. Is it too soon to say things like that? Ethan, we've known each other for 8 years. I don't think normal dating timelines apply. Good point. He was quiet again then. Hey, Jake. Thank you for seeing me. All of me, even the parts I'm still figuring out. I pulled back to look at him properly. In the faint glow of the embers, his face was open, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before. Thank you for being brave enough to tell me. I never would have said anything. I would have just kept loving you quietly forever. Good thing one of us is impulsive then. The best thing, I corrected, kissing him again because I could now. Because he was mine, and I was his, and this wasn't a dream I'd wake up from. Eventually the cold drove us into the tent. We changed into sleeping clothes with an awkwardness that was somehow endearing, both of us hyper-aware of the other's presence. Of the fact that everything had changed. I should probably stay in my sleeping bag, Ethan said. But he didn't sound convinced. You should, for propriety. Absolutely. We looked at each other for a moment, then both laughed. Screw propriety, I said. And he grinned, unzipping his sleeping bag and then mine. Zipping them together to make one large one, we climbed in together. The space instantly warmer with both our body heat. Ethan pulled me against his chest, and I felt his heart beating rapidly. This okay? He asked. Perfect. We lay there in the darkness, the tent filled with the sounds of our breathing and the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. Jake. Yeah, I'm really happy. I smiled against his chest. Me too. Like stupid happy. Like I want to wake up everyone in a 10-mile radius and tell them, please don't. I'd like to not get murdered by angry campers. He laughed, the sound vibrating through both of us. Fair. I'll contain myself. Barely. I tilted my head up to kiss his jaw, his cheek, finally his lips. Tomorrow, you can tell the whole mountain if you want. Just the mountain. Let's start there and work our way up to the whole state. Deal. We fell asleep like that, tangled together. 8 years of friendship transformed into something new and precious and entirely ours. We'd said the words, shared the kiss, and fallen asleep in each other's arms. But morning would bring new questions, new challenges, and a decision that would determine our future together. Would our love survive the light of day? Would we be able to navigate the real world after our perfect mountain confession? Part 3 will reveal how our camping trip surprise became the start of our forever. After 8 years of friendship, Ethan and I finally confessed our love for each other under the stars. We shared our first kiss, fell asleep in each other's arms, and woke up to face a future we never imagined was possible. I woke to golden sunlight filtering through the tent, and the sensation of being thoroughly warm for the first time since we'd arrived in the mountains. It took me a moment to remember we yawned. Then I felt Ethan's arm around my waist. His body pressed against my back, his slow, steady breathing against my neck. Last night was real. I lay there frozen, afraid to move and break whatever spell had allowed this to happen. Maybe if I stayed perfectly still, this moment could last forever. You're thinking too loud, Ethan mumbled against my shoulder, voice rough with sleep. I laughed softly. How can you possibly tell? I can feel it. You get all tense. He pulled me closer, nuzzling into my neck. Stop overthinking. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. He pressed a kiss to my shoulder, then another to the sensitive spot behind my ear, making me shiver. Good morning, by the way. Good morning. I finally turned in his arms, so we were face to face. His hair was adorably messed up, and there was a crease on his cheek from the sleeping bag. I'd never seen anything more beautiful. Hi. Hi, yourself. He smiled, soft and intimate, then kissed me slowly. Is it weird that I'm relieved? That I didn't dream last night? Not weird at all. I was just thinking the same thing. We lay there for a while, just looking at each other, occasionally trading lazy kisses and whispered words. The morning light made everything feel surreal, like we existed in a bubble separate from the rest of the world. We should probably get up, Ethan said eventually, though he made no move to do so. Probably make breakfast. Definitely neither of us moved. In a minute, he added, kissing me again, or 5. It was actually 20 minutes before we finally emerged from the tent, stumbling into the bright morning, still grinning like idiots. The clearing looked different, in daylight more real somehow. The mountains sharp against a brilliantly blue sky. Ethan started building a fire for breakfast while I gathered our scattered supplies. The domesticity of it, of moving around each other with easy familiarity, now mixed with the occasional brush of hands or stolen kiss, felt monumental. This was what I'd wanted without knowing I could have it. Not just the romance, but this, building a morning together. A life together. Pancakes? Ethan asked, holding up a camping cooking set. Doc, you brought pancake supplies? I told you. I planned this trip. He grinned. I was going to confess to you regardless, but I figured if it went well, I wanted our first morning together to be special. If it hadn't gone well, his smile faltered slightly. Then I would have made you consolation pancakes and driven you home and tried to figure out how to fix our friendship. I walked over and wrapped my arms around him from behind. Good thing it went well then. It's the best thing. He echoed my words from the night before. Breakfast was chaotic and perfect. Pancakes that were burned on one side and raw on the other, coffee that was too strong, and laughter that echoed through the mountains. We sat close together on a log, our thighs touching, Ethan's hand resting on my knee like it belonged there. So I said, scraping at a particularly charred section of pancake, what happens when we go back? Ethan was quiet for a moment, then set down his plate. What do you want to happen? I want this, gestured between us. I want you. But I'm also scared. Not of us, I added quickly, seeing his expression. Of how other people might react. Of navigating this in the real world instead of up here where it's just us. I know. Took my hand, interlacing our fingers. I've been thinking about it too. About coming out to my parents, my friends, about what it means to suddenly be in a queer relationship after years of everyone assuming I was straight. You don't have to rush anything, I said. We can take this at whatever pace you need. See, that's the thing, though. He turned to face me fully. I don't want to hide you, Jake. I don't want to pretend this isn't happening or that you're just my friend. I've wasted enough time already not being honest about who I am and what I want. My heart swelled. You're sure? I'm sure about you? The rest coming out, figuring out my identity, dealing with people's reactions, that's going to be a process. I'm not going to pretend I have it all figured out, but I want to go through it with you by my side. As my boyfriend, he smiled nervously. If that's what you want? Boyfriend? I repeated, testing the word. Ethan Torres is my boyfriend. Jake Morrison is mine, he said back, grinning. Yeah, I really like the sound of that. Kissed him, tasting coffee and maple syrup and promise. So do I. We spent the rest of the morning hiking to a nearby overlook, hands clasped between us, talking about everything and nothing. Ethan told me about the soul-searching he'd done over the past 3 months, the late-night internet research, LGBTQ+ forums he'd lurked on. The moment he'd finally let himself think the words, "I'm not straight," it was terrifying and liberating at the same time, he said, as we sat on a boulder overlooking a valley. Like I'd been wearing a costume my whole life and finally got to take it off. I remember that feeling, I said. When I first came out, everything suddenly made sense why I'd always felt slightly off. Why I'd never connected with the way my friends talked about girls. Did your parents take it hard? I nodded. They came around eventually, but those first few months were brutal. Lots of tears and arguments and Bible verses. They still struggle with it sometimes, but they're trying. I don't know how my parents will react. He squeezed my hand. My mom's pretty liberal, but it's different when it's your own kid, you know? And my dad. He's traditional. I'm honestly not sure. Whatever happens, you won't go through it alone. I promise. He leaned his head on my shoulder. How did I get so lucky? We both got lucky. 8 years of friendship doesn't just happen. We built this foundation, and now we get to build something more on top of it. Poetic. Shut up. He laughed and kissed my temple. I love you, Jake Morrison. I love you too, Ethan Torres. We packed up camp that afternoon with reluctance, neither of us quite ready to leave our mountain bubble. But as we hiked back down the trail, Ethan kept finding excuses to stop pointing out wildflowers, pausing to take photos, pulling me behind a large pine tree for kisses that left us both breathless. You're stalling, I said, laughing as he pointed out yet another incredible rock formation. Maybe I just want to remember every detail of this trip. We can come back, you know? This doesn't have to be the only time. His face brightened. Really? You'd want to? Ethan, I'd go anywhere with you. Mountains, beaches, desert doesn't matter, as long as we're together. He pulled me close, right there in the middle of the trail. I can't believe I waited so long to tell you. We're here now. That's what matters. The drive back to Denver felt different from the drive up. The silence between us was comfortable, punctuated by Ethan reaching over to hold my hand while he drove, or me playing with his fingers absently while watching the landscape change. I'm going to tell my parents this week, Ethan said as we neared the city. About us. About me. Are you sure you're ready? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. He glanced at me. Will you be there? Not when I tell them, but after. I might need you. Always. Just text me when you're done, and I'll come over. We pulled up outside my apartment building as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Neither of us moved to get out. I don't want today to end, I admitted. It doesn't have to. Come home with me. We'll order pizza, watch terrible movies, fall asleep on my couch like we always do. Except now I get to kiss you whenever I want. It's a very compelling argument. Is that a yes? I leaned over and kissed him. That's a yes. 4 months later, I stood in Ethan's kitchen, making coffee while he finished getting ready for work. Morning light streamed through the windows, and I could hear him singing off-key in the shower. These domestic moments had become my favorite, the ordinary. Everyday magic of building a life with him. His coming out to his parents had been complicated. His mom had cried, but hugged him and told him she loved him no matter what. His dad had needed more time, but was slowly coming around. They'd invited both of us to dinner next week. Huge step. My parents had been surprised, but ultimately accepting when I'd told them about Ethan. "We always wondered about you too," my mom had said. Smiling, our friends had been universally supportive, with several admitting they'd seen this coming for years. "You two have been basically married since college," our friend Mia had said. "You just made it official." The queer community had welcomed Ethan with open arms. We'd started going to LGBTQ+ events together. I'd watched him discover this whole new part of himself with wonder and joy. He was still figuring things out, his identity, his place in the community, but he was doing it authentically, without shame. "Coffee ready?" Ethan appeared in the doorway, hair damp, wearing his work uniform. "Almost." I poured 2 mugs and handed him one. "Big day?" "Just the usual, though I'm leading a nature walk this afternoon with a group of school kids, so that'll be fun." He wrapped his free arm around my waist, pulling me close. "What about you?" "Meetings all morning, but I'm hoping to leave early. Maybe we can go to that new Thai place for dinner?" "Perfect." He kissed me softly. "I love this. Thai food? This us. Coffee in the morning, planning dinner, just being together." He set down his mug and cupped my face. "I know it's only been 4 months, but I can't imagine my life without this anymore. Without you as my partner, good thing you never have to find out." I kissed him again, deeper. "I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I." He glanced at the clock and groaned. "But I do have to go to work. Responsibilities and all that. Such an adult," says the man who ate cereal for dinner 3 nights last week. That was 1 time. 3 times, he corrected, grabbing his keys. I counted. That evening, we sat on his balcony, watching the sunset over the city, my head on his shoulder, his arm around me. I said, "I used to think my life was on hold, like I was waiting for it to really start, and now I realize it started the day I met you. I just didn't know it yet." I looked up at him. "Everything good in my life has your fingerprints all over it." He was quiet for a moment, and when I looked up, his eyes were shining. "You're going to make me cry. Continue 8:43 a.m. Is that a bad thing?" "No, it's perfect. You're perfect." He kissed my forehead. "Thank you for taking a chance on me. On us. Best decision I ever made. Second best," he corrected with a smile. "What's the first?" "Saying yes when you asked if we could room together sophomore year." Everything else followed from that moment. I settled back against him, feeling his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. Watching the sky turn from gold to purple to deep blue. The city lights began twinkling like earthbound stars, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear music and laughter and life continuing. But here in this moment, with Ethan's arms around me and our future stretching out before us like an unwritten story, I had everything I needed. "Hey, Ethan." "Yeah, love you." He squeezed me tighter. "Love you too, Jake. Always." And as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, I thought about that camping trip, about how one surprise confession under a mountain sky had transformed everything. About how sometimes the love you're looking for has been right beside you all along, waiting for both of you to be brave enough to reach for it. Our story wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But whatever came next, the challenges, the celebrations, the ordinary days and extraordinary moments, we would face it together. And that was the best surprise of all.